Good morning. Welcome to Beautiful Plains Museum. We are located in a 1902 railway station that was a very busy station. It had 7 tracks running through it, and it handled a lot of grain and cattle, cream, butter, coal, you name it, and passengers, of course. So right now we're in what we call our log cabin. Our log cabin is 9 by 13 feet. Most of first log homes were 12 by 14, so a little bit bigger than this, but you can see the size of this. They weren't very big, especially when you came over and had a family of 7 or 8 or 9 children kind of thing. So working at the nursing home many years ago, I got a lot of stories from some of the early pioneers, and Mrs. Nickhart told a story. She came over to Canada in 1912 with her family, and they did live in a sod house. Now the sod houses were a little different than the log cabins. A sod house was actually a lot warmer in the wintertime, and it was colder, much cooler in the summertime, so they were a little more comfortable to live in. The only thing with the sod cabins were the roofs were sod, of course, in most instances. So when it rained, Mrs. Nickhart talked about, it didn't rain the first day in your cabin, but the second and third day, the sod had collected the moisture, and of course, it rained. So she said you really had to make sure you kept your pots with the lid on, because otherwise your porridge in the morning would have dirty water in it. So of course, 12 by 14 isn't a big space, and when you came with a big family, there wasn't a lot of room. Mrs. Nickhart talked about sleeping under the table with her sisters, and her baby brother was on top of the table in a apple box. So, of course, they wouldn't have had, if you see the piano, they wouldn't have had a piano in their log cabin or a phonograph. It would have been pretty bare for the most part. So women in those days worked very, very hard. We have signs on some of our pots and our muffin tins to lift the muffin tins. Of course, there was no aluminum, so they were made out of iron, and they're so heavy. So those poor ladies, they really had to work hard.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is heavy. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's not lifting weights.
Yeah, the pot's even a lot heavier than that one. So, yeah. And in our log cabin, we have the kitchen cabinet, which is this was the size that most people had. And we have some of the old items from the kitchen that they would have used. We have quite a few old cookbooks from early as 1956, I believe. So, and you didn't have a lot of money in most cases. These I just love. These are 2 potato mashers made out of a tree. So many of the things the settlers made themselves. So I just think these are a gem. If you come this way, sorry, you will see they had a lot of home sewing classes. So it was very important that the girls knew how to sew and knit and mend. So here's some of our sample books. And this one's very old. It gives you, let me find the right page. You had to do samples to show all the work, how you could do everything. This one comes from the 1920s. So, and there's other ones here. This one again has all the samples, how to knit your socks and do different knitting. It has samples of mending throughout it and different sewing techniques. So yeah, I mean, we don't even think of that nowadays, but it was very important for them to be able to do all this different work. So, and all the little notes that they took. You know, this is a student's book. You can see all the notes that they took in their handwriting, how to make everything. Yeah.
All very neat.
Yeah, their writing was very neat back then. I mean, they practiced it so much. This is a piece of mending. It may not show up very well, but it's all hand done. And it's quite beautiful. I belong to the Quilt Guild, and the ladies make beautiful, beautiful quilts. But most of it is new material, cut up into beautiful patterns and sewn together again. In those days, it was your leftover material from making your clothes, and old clothes too. You took the pieces from the old clothes that was still good to use, and you made your quilts. We have a trunk full here. And, whoops, you can see the different materials. There's different varieties of materials in this quilt. Yes, it's very old. And how they've made it. So we now mostly make our quilts from cotton or perma-cotton, but back then, whatever material you had, whether it was velvet or wool or whatever, is what you used. There, sorry, pillow. On our bed, we have a Hudson Bay blanket. That blanket was made from the quilting ladies. They were entering a contest. This was the Tangle Threads Quilt Guild, and they were participating in a Hudson Bay company quilting competition. In the end, the Hudson Bay didn't have enough quilts, so the ladies didn't give up their quilt. They got to keep it, and they donated it to the museum. And it tells the story of the foundation of Manitoba. So it's beautifully done. And of course it's made from Hudson Bay blankets.
Very neat. I love when art tells a story.
Yes, it tells the story of the settlers and whatnot. It's quite neat. And over here we have hair wreaths. If you'd like to, Victorian hair wreaths. This hair wreath was made from deceased family members' hair. Not all the hair wreaths were. And this one's hanging upside down, so one of these days we have to hang it correctly because the opening is supposed to be heavenward. Queen Victoria, when she lost one of her family members, she made a little, she took some hair and wove it and put it in a little brooch, and that started the fashion for hair wreaths. Yeah, it's quite intricate how they did it all. This one on this side, it's Mrs. Moses Poole made it of her 7 daughters' hair. They were not deceased. She just made it as a remembrance of her daughters. So, yeah, it's quite pretty.
Are there still people who are doing like hair wreaths to this day?
I've never heard of anyone doing hair wreaths anymore. I don't think it's one of those things. So, yeah. But anyway. And our pump organ plays. When I've had the school tours in, and sometimes when we have kids, we've let them play the pump organ, and it works very well. The kids are always surprised at how much pumping it takes to get that pump organ to work.
So you pump it like from there?
You pump it with your feet, and you have to continue pumping all the time for it to work.
So you're playing with your hands and your feet.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounds like an exercise.
It is actually. Those ladies in those days, between hauling water and doing all the things that they didn't need a gym membership.
They definitely had strong calves from everything.
Yes. When I tour the children through the museum, I ask them how old they are, and then I tell them what they would have been doing at that age. You know, if you were 7 years old, you were probably milking a cow more than likely. You were If you were a girl, more than likely you were feeding the chickens and weeding the garden, peeling potatoes, taking care of younger siblings. And if you were a boy at 7, you would have been feeding the pigs and milking cows, harnessing the horses for your dad in the morning to get them ready for the field. You know, kids worked very hard back then, and they didn't think anything of it. That was, you were part of a family and you worked together to make a go of it. Things weren't easy, so everybody worked together. Yeah. The kids are quite surprised that the jobs they would have been doing at the ages they did. My dad was 5 years old, and he started on milking 3 cows. You know, so when you think about that, and I was about 8 when I didn't milk every day, of course, but if my dad was busy. I was a very slow milker, by the way. It wasn't my strong suit. So if we turn around over here, we have what we call our Ukrainian and Polish display. Do you want me to pop in?
Sure.
Our Ukrainian and Polish settlers, most of them came a little later than the English and Scottish settlers. And some of the land they got wasn't the most desirable. As well, when they came to the prairies, they didn't come with money. They didn't have anything to sell in the old country. So they borrowed from the CN or CP to take their ship across to the east coast of Canada, and then took a train across the prairies. So when they came, a lot of them didn't have a cent to their name. So the dads went out to work, and mom and the children, they were the ones that proved up the homestead. You had to have so many acres ready for putting a crop in every year. And that meant taking down trees or picking stones. And up in Polonia Mountain Road area, where a lot of them settled, of course there was a lot of trees and a lot of stones. So it was very, very hard work. They worked very, very hard. They built a beautiful church. And if you can see the picture of that church, it was opened in July 12th, 1925. And the priest was the one that did the design of that church. And the work was done by all the local people. They had an artist. If you look at the top picture here, that's a picture of the interior of the church. It was very beautiful. They had an artist apparently come from the Ukraine to paint the ceiling of it and whatnot. When you think of the work that that church took, unfortunately that church was hit by lightning in 1966, I believe, and it burned to the ground. Yeah. Again, if you notice, the Ukrainian ladies and Polish ladies from that part of the world were very poor, but they could beautify anything. This is a sheepskin jacket. I believe it's a male's, but you can see the remnants of all the beautiful needlework on that jacket. So, and if you look at this tablecloth, all hand done. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it's very, very large. Yeah. Over here, our Miss is missing her apron. We do not have an apron for her, but this dress is made out of linen, and again you see all the embroidery on the sleeves to spruce it up. Every shoulder design here, every province had a different design. So you could look at her dress and tell where she came from. So, and this is a little Polish outfit. This little vest is from the 1920s. And that again is all hand embroidered, and they put beadwork on it to just make it quite beautiful. I'll take this off so you can see. This Ukrainian blouse belonged to Justina Yakamith, I believe. I think I'm saying that wrong anyway. She was born on August 15th 1883, and she immigrated to Mountain Road in 1921. Very, very beautiful and in pristine condition. We're very grateful to have this piece in our collection. When you come to the museum, if you're wanting to do research, we have a lot of the history books for you to do research, and different communities quite a few years ago made their own book, like Spring Hill, Franklin, Brookdale. Quite a lot of the communities made books. Somebody in the community took it on and took pictures, got pictures from the different family members and the different buildings that were in their town and whatnot, and the schools and school pictures. So if you're wanting to do family history, please think of us for that, because we do have a lot of information, and we do allow you to scan it, or we can scan it for you, or we can let you take pictures. All our artifacts, we do allow pictures to be taken. So, and a group of ladies a few years ago spent several winters making military, doing the military history books. So we have a lot of books. So the men in this area, World War I and World War II. There's pictures of most of the men and where they served and whatnot. If they passed away, where they were possibly buried and whatnot. So if you're looking for military histories too, we have that for you. As well, the archives have a lot of things, Beautiful Plains Archives too, and we do work together on different projects. So yes. Please remember this summer that we have a children's program, and we have two wonderful volunteers from Nipawa High School that come and help with our capable assistant, Veronica. We're very fortunate to have Veronica with us this summer with all her ideas. She has different rock painting and face painting and different activities for the children. As well, she has a lot of search, where they have a picture of an item, a close-up picture of an item, and they have to find it, and it tells you what room that it comes from and whatnot. There's a program for the grandparents too. There's sheets for the children to ask their grandparents, so they get to know what their grandparents did as little children, what they liked, disliked, all kinds of different things, so they can understand each other better. And there's one for the grandparents to ask the children as well. We really appreciate the grandparents coming and bringing their children and having a look around. We appreciate that very much. And if you're coming in, we do have dates for some of the rock painting and face painting and whatnot, but lots of afternoons. If you come in, we have the volunteers there, and they can be done at any time. So please do bring your children in and your grandchildren. It would be nice to see you. Thank you. As well, for the children, we have a lot of play clothes. We have a few toys as well from the olden days, and we have a lot of play clothes. Some are not as old as others. We have different sizes. We have some for smaller children. We have hats, a whole trunk of hats, and purses and high heels, and things like this red fox collar, and his little mouth opens and catches his tail. And it surprises me that kids are okay to wear fox. I thought in these times that they wouldn't be wanting to have animal skins around them or touch things. So, and there are some artifacts that they are able to touch as they tour the museum. There we go. And this summer we have an apron display. We don't know much about aprons because we mostly don't wear aprons anymore. But back in the day, you had aprons for everything. The first aprons, of course, were old workhorses, you know, made of heavy cotton, possibly a flour bag cotton, and they really covered all of you. Some of the aprons we have right now are fancier aprons. They came from the 60s when you still wore aprons, but it was a little bit of a fancier deal.
I really like that one.
Yes.
It's really pretty.
Yeah. And for many years there was a souvenir aprons. You still can get souvenir aprons actually. This one came from Niagara Falls. Yeah. I really like this one. This is built for 1967 for Canada's Centennial. And this is the good old work apron. You put your dust rags in all the little pockets and all the things you needed, your bottle of Windex or whatever, and off you went to clean your house. You had your apron for your clothespin. This is a fairly old one. It's been very well used. It's been mended. But the little Dutch girls are hanging out their laundry. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the way here. Oh, a 1960s apron. Look at the colors on that one.
Oh, that really does speak. 1960s.
Yeah, 1960s. Yeah. This is a picture. This picture is here because you can see the ladies wearing aprons. They're good old work aprons. My mother wore an apron all the time. When she worked in the field and drove the grain truck, she even wore an apron. Quite often she wore it inside out, so if someone came along, she quickly took it off and put it on the right side, which was still clean. And like as a little girl, one of the things all little girls learn to embroidery, and quite often it was tea towels or aprons. So these are hand embroidery. This is a huck embroidery, which I learned to do too when I was little. So, and some of them got quite elaborate. This is the different nationalities along, and it's quite beautiful. Just to spruce up your everyday material. So this is my auntie's apron from the 1930s. Obviously she didn't wear it too much, but this was a good apron. This is what you wore when you had company. And again, it's all hand embroidered. Very beautiful. One of your fancy 60s aprons.
Very nice.
60 colors dress.
Knowing myself, I would put that on.
Isn't it? It's quite
pretty.
cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a little, yeah, it's quite neat. So, and over here, we're a little crowded in this corner right now, so I'll let you step in and take a picture. This is a very neat one over here. There's Aunt Jemima. I understand they're bringing her back on the maple or on the pancake syrup. So, and again, this is another work apron where you had the little pockets. These aprons, the gingham aprons with their fancy stitches, were really big in the 70s. Started in the 60s, but the 70s, everyone had one of these aprons. And there was different work that was done on them. I really like this one because it's a different shape. Just the stitches have made it different, so it's quite pretty. So come and check us out.